Hey, this is Javier from Proactive Dog Training. Today we're going to talk about the place command, and we will focus on a few different things. So the first one is going to be how to get on the place. So that'll be the first thing, and there's going to be, as usual, two ways of getting there. The first one being luring, the second one compulsion. The next step will be working on the stay and how to get the dog to increase distance, duration, and distraction. And then the next part will be showing you the corrective side, how to show the dog when they break and what to do when they break. The different ways of guiding your dog so they understand they did something wrong. I'm at the mountains right now, and it's great, but I thought I'd make you guys a video. The first piece of the puzzle is getting the dog on the bed. So first, call your dog. If you haven't done recalls, watch my recall video so you can practice that first. Then call your dog close to the bed. You're gonna find a specific distance and angle that you're gonna start sending your dog from. You don't wanna send your dog from a bunch of different angles initially. You'll do that eventually once the dog gets what place means, and then you want to generalize it to different locations, to different angles, different distances. But at the beginning, pick an area where you're going to send them from, pick an angle, and then get your dog's attention first with a treat. Once you get the dog's attention, then interrupt that treat licking or treat smelling or treat chasing. Interrupt that, then do a gesture where you're going to bring the treat towards the place bed, and then when the dog follows the treat, as soon as they get on the bed, say yes and treat. What we see very frequently is that some dogs when you're first introducing a brand new bed, they might not get on right away. So just help them out initially. Second piece will be compulsion. So you're gonna pull on the leash, and if you haven't done your leash pressure exercise, please do. You pull, treat when they give in. So eventually it becomes second nature for them to give in to the pressure. So pull, and then when they're giving in, you're gonna pull towards the bed. As soon as they get on the bed, you stop pulling and then reward. This concept is the same concept how you're gonna introduce an electronic collar. I have a video on introducing the electronic collar for the place, but it will be applying that stimulation the same way that you apply the leash pressure. It's got to be super low. It cannot be a correction. It cannot create oh, I messed up. This is more of just an annoying sensation. They'll go away as soon as they get on the bed. So you pull on the leash. As soon as they get on the bed, you turn that off. Say yes and treat, good boy, good girl, or free. Free, remember, is the way you release them. Yes means I'm bringing you a treat. Good means keep doing what you're doing. So do that a few times until you're able to create a reliable way of getting the dog on the bed, meaning you pull on the leash and they get on the bed. So that will help eventually for the corrective part. Once the dog messes up, if they know how to give in to leash pressure, they'll give in pretty easily. Once you get the luring and the compulsion figured out, the next step would be naming it. So now you're going to say fluffy, place, then point towards the bed, and then help. Either use the luring or the compulsion that you've been using, and then reward when they get it right. 3 ways of rewarding: yes and treat, FREE, or good boy. All right, so now we're talking about the stay. So after you got your dog to get on the bed, whether it was with leash pressure or treats, luring, then you named it. So you said fluffy, place, point, then help the dog, then reward. One of the ways was yes and treat. So yes and a treat comes to the dog. The other way was free. So what are you gonna do when you start working on stay? Before you even name it, you start working on delaying that free. So maybe you put him on the bed, you say good boy, and then maybe take a step back, then free, and then the dog can release, can break. Then you take a couple more steps and wait a little bit longer before you say free. Now, once you know that your dog is able to stay, then you can start naming it. So you say place, point, help, reward with a yes and a treat or a good boy, and then stay, step back, yes, treat, or free, and release them. one of those. Just remember that yes means I'm bringing you a treat. It doesn't mean come get it. Then free will be a release. Then once you develop that understanding of stay, then now we move on to the next step, which is working on distance, duration, distraction. So distance, we usually take, let's say you take 3 steps away. You're gonna say yes, then bring the treat, or free, or good boy. Those are gonna be the ways to reward. You can also create a distraction. You can grab a treat, throw it, or a toy, and if he waits, or she, then yes and treat, good boy, or free. Now, we're gonna follow 2 rules whenever we're adding distance, duration, distraction. Let's say that I got 5 steps away. Then what you're gonna do is reward, and let's say that at 7 steps, your dog broke position. So you're gonna bring the dog back, and the first rule is gonna be recreate. So do it again, repeat what you just did. So repeat the 7 steps. If they get it right, awesome. You can move on, and you don't have to, you can now do 10 steps. Now, if they get it wrong again, what I want you to do is follow rule number 2. Rule number 2 is lower the standard, so make it a little bit easier. So instead of doing 7 steps, maybe do 5 steps again. And if the dog gets it right, typically, you can usually go back to your higher standard. Meaning, you did 5 steps, you rewarded them with a yes and a treat, or free and celebrate. And then again, you're gonna try 7 steps. The same applies to throwing a ball. Let's say you throw a ball and he breaks, no correction, put him back. And the no right now is gonna be no, grab the leash, pressure until you get him back on the bed. Then you're gonna recreate it, throw the ball the same way. If they get it right, awesome, they see the full picture. They get it wrong, make it easier. So maybe just bounce the ball or just drop it instead of throwing it. The goal is preventing the dog from getting stressed out or frustrated. To conclude this video, the main goals of the place command are developing impulse control, which that will be helpful to desensitize your dog to distractions. That way, let's say that you have kids and the kids don't always want to play with the dog needs to learn to stay when you tell them to stay. When you have a guest, you can put your dog in a stay and they gotta wait until it's appropriate for them to go say hello. So those are some of the uses that you can do it. The other part of it will be to change the dog's default, especially when you have younger dogs, that their default is looking for something to chew, looking for exploring. So if that's their default, well, 1, you want to make sure you're giving plenty of stimulation throughout the day, and 2, use your place command a lot when you're eating, when you're cooking, when you're working. That will really help the dog over time choose to relax when there's time to relax, and go out and explore with you when it's time to explore with you in appropriate areas. Those will be the main benefits. And as long as the dog understands how to get on a bed, and then you develop distance, duration, distraction, or basically a stay, then you'll have a really reliable command that you can use to help your dog integrate your dog into your daily routines, into your life. That way they're not something that you have to always be, what is Fluffy doing now? Instead, it's a dog that hangs out with you, and when it's appropriate, you go and take them places. You go to a restaurant and they can stay for extended periods of time because they practice that. So use your place a lot, not just when you're doing training sessions, but integrate it into your daily life.